President. Trunkar la Teshi Dalai. I want to thank all of you for being here, all the Tibetan people, all the Tibetan supporters, the Dalai Lama. As Chairman of Foreign Affairs, I met many leaders of countries, dignitaries. I would have to say the meeting we had with the Dalai Lama and Dharamshala last year was one of the most profound experiences of my lifetime. His intelligence, his sense of humor after what his people and he had gone through. You know, he said, you in the West care about physical health, mental health, but you don't focus on the spiritual health. And I remember one other thing he said. I will not be reborn in China. I will be reborn in freedom. As Madam President said, 66 years ago, he led his people, the monks who were slaughtered through the mountains, the Himalayas, into India for safety. He still teaches inner peace and preaches compassion. I said, don't you harbor any ill will towards the Chinese people? He said, I cannot let negative emotions take over my soul. A true spiritual leader, I think about that meeting almost every day. He reminds us that the CCP can take away your land, but they cannot take away your culture or your spirit.
I'm so honored and thrilled to be here with so many people who are dedicated to good. It gives me hope that we can have a brighter future. And so I thank you all for coming to Washington. It is important that you're here. And the numbers of you that are here is incredible. Several hundred of you are here today, which is not only important for members of Congress to know that people care about Tibet, but I'm sure it's aggravating the Chinese government. That's not very Dalai Lama-like, but I'm just telling you. But I welcome you to today's celebration of His Holiness the Dalai Lama on the occasion of his 90th birthday. And I'm pleased to join with my colleague, Representative Mike McCall, in co-hosting this event. As he mentioned, we traveled together to Dharamshala last year. We co-led promoting a resolution to the Tibet-China Conflict Act, signed into law last year. And that's a signal of the continued bipartisan support for Tibet. This is a bipartisan issue. Democrats and Republicans all believe that this is an important issue.
Thank you so much for your kind introduction, for the invitation to be here with all of you. I have traveled with Mr. McCall to Dharamshala to see His Holiness. I've traveled with Mr. McGovern to Lhasa, to the palace, and I called him our spiritual leader on that trip, is that not right? And we're all here. You gotta imagine, think of the word, the 90th birthday of His Holiness, the Dalai Lama. As others have said, and I heard Mr. McCall from back there, Mr. McGovern was behind here, talking about the spiritual leader that he is. The most important thing you can do while you're here is to make your presence known. Know your power in all of this, because as Mr. McGovern and Mr. McCall indicate, this has always been bipartisan. For us, it's equal. Our respect for the Dalai Lama is unifying in the Congress, is that not so? And brings us all together with shared values. Some of you have not heard me tell this story, and some of you have. So just bear with me while I tell it again. When we were there at the time of Dharamshala with a bipartisan delegation a few years ago. Last year we were there under the leadership of my McCall. But a few years before that we were there, and His Holiness had been listening to the stories of some of the people who were coming out of Tibet, and they had terrible stories to tell about how you said the Chinese had been, how cruel and all the rest of that. And I had an interpreter so I could understand what was being said, while our rest of the delegation was touring the temple. We've been there, how beautiful it is. Well, then we go to Hadma. We have a rally outside, and people were so welcoming in the rest. 100 monks, young monks from around the region of India, there for lunch. And having just heard these terrible stories from the people coming over from Tibet, kissing His Holiness's hand, you know, it was just such a beautiful thing to see them meeting His Holiness, and the respect and the love and just the whole reverence that was there. So when he introduced me, I talked about hearing their stories, and I introduced our bipartisan delegation, which was there to help people in Tibet and Tibetans around the world, and certainly those in India as well. And I said to them, you know, I've said, if we do not speak out for human rights in China because of commercial reasons, we use all authority to speak out for human rights any place in the world. That's what I say all the time. When His Holiness got up afterward, he said to the monks, now let us pray for Nancy so we rid her of her negative attitudes. That's how beautiful he is.
Working together in our own ways, bringing what we can to this most important subject. I want to thank, of course, Mike and Jim for his resolution celebrating his Holiness on his 90th birthday, and most especially his most needed message, demonstration from his own life and his own way of peace and compassion and listening and finding other ways of resolving problems on this planet. And we're all worth it, every single one of us, to take the extra mile to listen to each other and resolve things. Anyhow, I wish I could be there. I send lots of love to all of you. Tashi Lole, and I'll see you next time around. Thank you.